Hey sisters, it's Donna. Well, right now I'm outside of the strip club, and that's part of my story. So what I wanted to do was I want to go ahead and um, kind of tell my story, hopefully, so it can help like my younger sisters, because I hear girls all the time say, I want to be a dancer. Well, they make so much money, and all that good stuff. Yeah. Um, Whenever I started dancing, I was 16 years old. And I was working at first at Wendy's and McDonald's, and I just wasn't able to meet the daycare. And like I had a daughter, and I had a child when I was 16. So I would be really working just to pay the daycare. And I got tired of that. So one of the ladies who always would come in, a regular in the restaurant, was telling me about, her lifestyle or whatever. She's like, you're gonna keep on making this petty money. She was like, do you like dancing? So I'm like, yeah, I like to dance. I can dance. And when I went to the club, like you're supposed to be 18, but it never really matters. you know. So when I went to the club, and the first time being in there, I was just like, wow, I hadn't experienced that before. So, I love the music. I loved, the vibe of it. And when I first got up on stage, it was like the scariest thing ever. It was the scariest thing ever to be in front of a bunch of men that you don't know. So I'm like, okay, what do I do to kind of ease my nerves? So the house mom, she's like, well, you need to drink. You need to drink so you can kind of ease yourself. And you got to drink anyway. You got to drink so that you don't hear what these men are saying. Because I would have some of the men, some of the white men be like, oh, you a pretty nigga, you're a pretty black girl. And it's just some of the stuff that they say will kind of mess you up if you are not drinking. So, I would drink and I would drink and I'd get on stage and go ahead and do my routine. And what I had learned, I learned that everybody, all these men were just so different, but all of them had one thing in common, and that's the fact that a lot of them were insecure. They were insecure. So what you did was, you kind of played on their emotions and, kind of fed them fantasies. Well, being in the strip club, I learned a lot. I learned a lot, things that I didn't want to learn. Um, when I was here, when I was dancing, it was like I met girls who were on drugs. Some ladies would dance all night and they would spend all their money on the drug dealers. And some boyfriends would come sit up and watch their girlfriends dance. I'm like, well, that's lazy. Why do I have to be in here dancing if they're gonna come here and watch? So first of all, if you got a man who sits there and watch you at the strip club, that's weak. He should be doing something to help you so you don't have to do that. And some girls actually love the idea of dancing. They love the idea of a man looking at them, and they love the idea of being able to bring somebody's fantasy and make it a reality. I'm fine. To make it a reality. And so I'm not a dancer, look. But this guy just stopped, trying to talk. But they really went off of feeding fantasies. It would really turn them on to, like, get that attention. Some girls just like the attention. So my thing was, I was good on the pole. I can do the pole tricks or whatever. So what I learned in the strip club was, I'm thinking that I'm going to make a lot of money. And what happened was, I would end up having to pay out every night. And the payout, you have to give them 125. There's that famous number again. Look, you got to give them $125. And I'm like, okay, if I'm in here, at the beginning, I wasn't really making a lot. I would say like 300 a night because I was kind of scared. I was still timid a little bit going up on stage. But the more that I did dance, I learned, like, I was like, I can do this. And there were so many people coming in the strip club. There were all kind of men. There were powerful men, there were the hood niggas, there was the broke men, there was the ones that just wanted the attention. So what I end up doing was I end up having like a lot of regulars. And I know one of my regulars was a pastor, a very well-known pastor here in Louisville, Kentucky. Um, and it's just like that really took it to another level because I'm like, hold on for a minute. He's a pastor of a church, but he's in his strip club like at least 3 or 4 times a week. And as far as the other, there's a really big charity in Louisville, and they also were, really throwing money. So, I learned a lot about people too. I learned that I learned that nobody's perfect. You know how they will preach at church that you got to be holy and stuff like that. Well, I was like, I had to switch churches because I saw so many like deacons and I saw so many deacons and other people that were supposed to be like, holy. And they would say, well, what are you doing in here? I'm like, what are you doing in here? I work here. But back to the story of, the stripping life, it's not as glamorous as everybody makes it. Um, I recall I had a stalker, when I was dancing. I also got a stalker. There was a guy, he would come and sit up at the club like all the time. He would buy drinks. When they buy drinks, then you get a percentage of that money, but the house, they get money too. I was just like, well, this person is here all the time. He's spending all his money, and he really just started to like me to the point that I didn't like him. I'm like, this is just a job. But he was bringing gifts up, He, for my birthday, he was like, hey, Essence, I got you a gift. So I go outside with the security guard, and he got a car. I'm like, I can't take that unless you put it in my name. So he put the car in my name. So then I have 2 cars. There were guys who, they would buy things like, they want to get you houses, they want to do all that stuff. But, all the money that you make inside of the club, it's like it goes so fast because the faster you make money, the faster you get rid of money. Well, another thing that I can remember, I've seen somebody overdose. I've seen a girl overdose in the club. There have been men who take girls, they'll be so drunk, and some of the guys wait after work and, been and took a girl home because she's too drunk to really realize what she's doing. And the other thing I can remember, I was walking home because I let somebody use my car and they didn't pick me up from work. And, they didn't pick me up. So I'm walking, and a guy pulls up, and I'm kind of like, I'm still walking, I'm still walking. I didn't want to get in the car with him or anything like that. He was trying to talk, but while I'm walking, he's just kind of, riding along the side of me. So eventually I'm kind of like, okay, I cut like down the street by where some houses were, because I'm thinking, okay, well, over here by the houses, there's going to be lights. And I was wrong, because he put me in the car at gunpoint, and I was raped that night. And I can recall all I was doing was I was praying, and I'm like, Lord God, please let me make it out of this situation, and or like take care of my daughter, because I really thought I was going to die that night. After he did that, of course I felt, just violated, because I'd already been through so much in life already. But I just shook it off, I shook it off. I went to the doctor and stuff like that, to make sure that, like, he hadn't given me anything. And, I just went on with life, because, being a dancer, people, they have the perception, that, like, okay, well, all dancers are freaks and all this and that. And that's not true. Some people really are just trying to live. And it's a stripper's myth, but, I was in school. I was doing what I was supposed to do, but, my nightlife was completely separate from my day. That was a really horrible experience. And I did go to parties. Some of the girls would be, they would go to parties where, all these men, rich men, and at that time, like rappers and different stuff, they'd be there at these parties. And, some girls would do the most. I always felt that I could get more, from a guy and keep him as a client at work if you did not sleep with them. You get more. And everybody knows that's just like in life. A guy will give you the world until they feel like they got you. Then you can't even get cheese on your cheeseburger. Well, you can't even get cheese on the hamburger. So I thought I was really like living the life. I really was. And then that guy who had become so obsessed, one day I got home and he had broken into my house and tore my house up and stuff like that. I didn't feel safe there anymore. I couldn't really stay there. He became so creepy. It's like everywhere I went, I would see him. What he ended up doing was I went over my friend's house. I was staying at her house. He ended up coming through her front window. Busting through the window and stuff. And it was just like, it was so scary. After that, I quit. I quit dancing because I was just like, I was afraid that, I was going to end up dying or something. And then what happened, I ended up moving, out of that house. So because I was scared of that guy, so I really had nowhere to really go at that time. Here I am with my child, and I'm trying to make a living. But like I said, I was like, Lord, if you take me out of this situation, I just won't go back to it. I'll do what He needs me to do. So what I had to do was I ended up homeless at that point. So I let my daughter go stay with her grandfather for a little while. And, of course I would see her every day and stuff. But I ended up homeless. I didn't let her go with her grandfather right away. What I did was I moved into an abandoned house. There was a house that was on the market. It had been on the market for like a year. So I ended up changing the locks to the back door and I moved in. I would go to the bathrooms at the library and stuff like that and take a bath. Or, I would wash her up and it was just like, she didn't deserve that. So what I ended up doing was then letting her go and stay with her grandfather. I remember being out, like I sold my car because I needed money to survive. After I sold my car, I end up walking to one of the shopping centers, and I saw people that I knew, and I was like, I'm going to go ahead and sell my purses. I had accumulated so many things, the material things in the strip club. So I end up doing, like, selling everything that I had. All the Gucci purses and Coach and all that stuff. It's just like everything that I had earned, it's like it was taken. Basically I had to sell it in order to survive. And then one day it just turned around. I ended up getting a job. And working that, and just, God helped me to get on my feet. So what I want to tell all the young ladies who are thinking about dancing, it's not just dancing. It's not just stripping. There's dangers to it. And those are only some of the stories. And then what I want to tell the men, I know they're going to go to the strip clubs and stuff, but, don't go in the strip club and try to break the women. They're in there to do a job. And I know it's not the best kind of job, but it's a job. And some people are actually there to take care of their kids. Don't go try to break a woman just because she's a dancer, because she's human too. So it was kind of hard to share this story, but I got to do it whenever God tells me to do it. Bye, sis.